No. I caught myself doing it again. I looked up at the TV.
I know. We're watching the Olympics, so that's why if we look up every once in a while, we're seeing what's going on in the gymnastics.
Yes.
So what's up, guys?
What's going on?
Welcome to another edition of the Blue Review, a special edition, a trade deadline special. Of course, the trade deadline is at 3 p.m. Pacific time today, so Dodgers are looking to make some more moves, and we're going to be keeping an eye out on that. But we'll react to what happened yesterday and some of the moves that we've seen around the league, as well as what the Dodgers have done. But before we do so, I just want to remind everyone here at the Blue Review, we're presented by LAX. Our friends at Los Angeles International Airport are just changing the travel experience, reducing traffic, saving guests time. And if you want to learn more, you can check it out at flylax.com/transforming LAX. That's flylax.com/transforming LAX. So here we go. Without further ado, guys, before we get into this, just wanted to say go USA one more time. But Marcus,
Yes.
We've seen some trades already all over the place. The Dodgers specifically. Let's start with the Tommy Edman and the Michael Kopech move. Where are your just initial thoughts on that, having gotten rid of Vargas and a few other prospects?
I was a little surprised to see Vargas. So my initial reaction when I saw Vargas was involved in the deal was a little bit of surprise. But then when you stop and you sort of think about his situation there, where I think of all the guys that were potentially available, he's a guy that's certainly talented, has a good bat, can play in a lot of different spots, and was in a situation where it was hard for the Dodgers to get him at bats and to get him on the field consistently. So it sort of made sense. And I certainly wish him well, hope for nothing for the best. He certainly, was a nice option for them when he was there. For Kopech, he gives you that bullpen help that you've been needing. I mean, so far, I don't know that his transition to being a full-time reliever has been great, but, White Sox. So, I mean, let's kind of throw that into consideration as well. So he sort of gives you sort of a hopefully a middle relief arm that you can use to eat some innings, can stretch him out a little bit. The Edman one, I think, is a risk-reward proposition because, when he's healthy, if he's healthy, he is a guy that gives you a lot of positional flexibility, has a really good bat as well, can do a lot of different things for you, can sort of be, what they were hoping to get out of Kike Hernandez and Chris Taylor. The issue for me, Greg, is that on a team that is already very beat up and dealing with injuries, you have a guy that is dealing with rehab, has not played yet this year. You're hoping he comes back. I know he was doing some rehab stints in AA. It feels like a calculated gamble by the Dodgers that the medicals are going to work out all right.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like. He is in AA, and you know what he's batting in AA? Just over 200.
Yeah.
And you know what he's also not doing in AA? Playing in the field. He's DHing in AA. So these are things that are kind of worrisome. But the fact is that when he is healthy, which is hopefully within a week, is what I'm kind of understanding. Is take you off screen if you're going to look up at the TV, Parker, which is fine. Go ahead.
It was Simone.
Simone Biles just crushed it right now.
That's what she does. She crushes it, but apparently it's turn one or whatever that means. But it is very exciting. But still, he's a guy that when he's healthy and he's here, I think he's better than what we had before, especially what was in center field, where he was supposed to be the everyday center fielder this year for the Cardinals, and because of that. He just hasn't played this year. If he does come up and he's healthy and kind of gets back to what they were expecting him to be with the Cardinals, I think he can be a very good piece. And he's better than what we already have, Marcus. We already have Pages in center is not good defensively. It's not working out. His bat has kind of drifted off. I don't know how much we can really expect from Pages moving forward, but Tommy Edman would be a good piece. Not anything that's amazing, kind of like this a great piece that's going to take you from where we are now to a World Series contender. I always think they're a World Series contender, but even so, it's not going to push them over the top, but it's a piece that can help. And the Michael Kopech piece, that's another one that's another hope piece. It's another hope of, can he be fixed by the Dodgers? Yeah. He throws really, really hard, but just not within the plate. He just has no control. And from what I'm understanding as well is that the White Sox just don't know how to help him with his pitch mix and how to help him focus on a certain spot that they want him to hit. And that's where the Dodgers come in, and they can say, like, okay, this is what you're doing. We want you to focus on these two pitches, and we want you to throw him in these specific spots. And if that's what he's going to be focused on, he can be a much better pitcher. And that's what they're hoping they're going to get out of Kopech. And he would be more. But all these moves, they're depth. They're just depth. And even Amed Rosario, bringing in Amed Rosario, that's more depth. And that's better than what you had before. So, it's always going to be better than Kike. It's always going to be better than Chris Taylor. It's going to be better than, Nick Ahmed and Kevin Biggio. So those are all things that are helping this team move forward and helping with the depth when you get into the postseason, having guys that you kind of trust a little bit more.
I mean, it's sort of amazing. I mean, you're running down that list, and certainly we were starting the season back in March, early April. If you had told us that here we are in late July at the trade deadline, and Amed Rosario and Nick Ahmed and Kevin Biggio were the names this team was relying on, like, I think we would have had a full-on panic attack, but that's what it is. But you're right. This is depth add, and here's the thing, and I know you'll probably get to this, Parker. Hopefully they are not done. There are still rumors in the works. There was, some chatter that maybe they were talking to the Tigers about Flaherty. There's still a belief that they're trying to work on a package for Garrett Crochet. So, I mean, there's still that big ticket item that is sort of hanging out there right now. And I think that's sort of what Dodger fans are waiting on. I mean, as of this moment, you got do the math, about 5.5 hours before they, before the trade deadline officially hits. So, they've got some nice depth pieces. Now it's just, let's find that one big thing that can hopefully get this team over the hump.
So I wonder what that one big thing is, though, because so what for you is it? Because I'm sorry to take it, Parker, but is it Garrett Crochet? Is it Jack Flaherty? Are those the only two names you want? Because I've been saying over and over again, I would love and really, really want Skubal. I think that's the prize of the deadline. I don't think he moves, but if he does, I was listening to John Morosi earlier this morning. He was saying if anything does happen, it looks like the Orioles will get him because of the big prospects and everything that they can give. That's the guy that I think is the only one that really will make a difference in the postseason. But who is that big piece for you? Is it Flaherty?
I mean, no, it would be Skubal. I think I've just sort of moved on because everything I have read and heard suggests that either the Tigers aren't moving him or the Dodgers aren't going to want to pay the asking price. So at that point, I've sort of turned my attention to Garrett Crochet. And again, there's still the concern of him already being over his career high in innings. I know the thing about the extension or whatever. I think that part will sort of work itself out. Like, I think honestly, if the option was, hey man, you're going to come to the Dodgers, you have a legitimate chance to be in the World Series, and still be with this team for a couple years beyond that, I think they'll maybe soften their stance a little bit. So he's kind of where I am on this, because Flaherty is a guy that's getting a little bit older. You don't know, is this a magical season for him? Can he continue this beyond this year? Again, if somehow the Skubal thing falls in our lap, that's great. But otherwise, I think more realistically, Crochet is probably the prize right now.
Yeah, see, I'm just out on Crochet, and I don't know where you are, Parker, but I'm just out on him. And it's not even because of the stuff he's talking about. I just don't think he's going to be someone that's going to help you in the postseason besides being a long reliever, because he has absolutely tripled his entire career's worth of innings pitched. And now he could come in and look, this, I'll couch it this way. Whatever pitcher they do get, if they get a pitcher, whether it's Skubal, whether it's Flaherty, whether it's Crochet, or it's somebody that I'm not even thinking about or we're not thinking about, whoever they get to be hopefully a frontline starter, I'm going to trust Andrew Friedman because he knows what he's doing. If he's giving up prospects and good prospects for somebody, I truly believe that they believe that that person will help them this postseason specifically. Maybe moving forward because they like to move it. They like to look in advance as well, but they will help in this specific year.
So I'll ask you, Greg, do you believe Yamamoto's coming back this year? Like, do you think he can come back?
I do think he's coming back. I don't know why. Like, I have more faith that Yamamoto is going to come back than Max Muncy's going to come back. Yeah. So yes, I do. And if you have Glasnow and Yamamoto as your 1-2, I think I feel much, much better about their postseason success.
Right. So, I mean, I asked that because you talk about Crochet potentially as a long reliever, and just sort of seeing how this team has operated in the playoffs the last few years, some long relief help might be necessary. So that might be where Crochet sort of slots in. The question then becomes, who is your third starter? Is it Gavin Stone? I'm at a point, like, I'm not expecting Walker Buehler this year. I don't know what to expect out of Bobby Miller at this point this year. So it would become, either Crochet is your third starter and Stone is your first guy out of the bullpen, or vice versa. Maybe that's how you figure out that third spot. It's kind of an opener situation. I don't know.
So Gavin Stone, I love Gavin Stone. I think he's having a fantastic year. He's doing what I was a little bit worried about, and we talked about it a bunch, having this great first half of the season. And now in July, these are his last 4 games in July. He's given up 4 runs, 1 run against Boston. That was a good outing. And then 4 runs again. He's walking more guys. He's not striking out as many guys. It's only been 3. He's also not going very deep into games. In July, he's gone 3 innings, 4.2, 5, and 6. So he's hit that. That's kind of what you're worried about. That, to me, when you see those types of things, is that he's a guy that's getting tired. People are starting to understand what his pitch mix is, are starting to understand him. And just as a young guy, you have to be able to overcome that. Hopefully it goes away, because the last 2 starts, even though he's given up 5 runs combined in the last 2 starts, he's going longer. He's getting back over that 5 innings mark. So if he can figure that out, I'll have a little bit more faith in him. But it's starting to seem like he's a guy it was a first half pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, I'll throw this in though. I mean, in his defense too, his last 3 starts have been against the Astros, the Red Sox, and the Phillies. He's
But
faced
those are the teams you're going to see in the postseason.
No, I agree. I totally agree. So like, I guess my point being, he's faced 3 really good lineups. Hopefully, understanding that, obviously he's not going to see the Astros or the Red Sox outside of a World Series opportunity, but just sort of being able to kind of take away from that, studying, see what went right, what went wrong, and sort of putting those things into action. That's my hope. That's all.
Sure. Now if you go back to Skubal, let's say, because everything is, I don't know why I keep talking about him. I just feel like he's going to move for some reason, even though they keep saying he's not going to, and maybe it's to Baltimore. But would you do this? And I'll ask both of you, Parker, Marcus, the same thing. Would you do a Robleski, Ryan, rushing, and maybe another 1 or 2 prospects if that's enough to get him? Would you move those guys for Skubal?
Oh man,
that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah, we saw what the Astros gave up for Kikuchi, so it might even be a higher asking price.
Oh, it's going to be a higher. It's going to be a higher asking price than Kikuchi for sure.
So that would have to be kind of the basis of a deal. Would be your 2 best, like 2 of your really good starters coming that are major league ready. Dalton Rushing, a catcher that is probably major league ready, and we don't know if we're ever going to see him in Dodger blue, because he's blocked by Will Smith, who is going to be here for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And has no plans of moving from catcher. So, and then you probably move 2 other prospects as well. Would you do that?
My inclination is no. That, because especially seeing what you've gotten out of Robleski and Ryan, admittedly in very small sample sizes, but what you have gotten from them sort of gives you an idea of what the future could be for this group. Now, as much as I know everybody loves Rushing, I don't know. Do you hope that Diego Cartaya sort of, blossoms into the guy you hope he could be? Because that would sort of ease the blow of losing a guy like Dalton Rushing. It feels like a lot. I guess I know I know Skubal's still under contract for a couple of years. That just feels like a ton.
What about you, Parker?
I'm just worried. Yeah, I would be similar to Marcus. I mean, that is just so much. And the reports that were coming out from the Orioles is that, they would rather get rid of some of their veteran guys like Mountcastle or Cedric Mullins, but that's not going to be enough either. So, I mean, it's both teams, and honestly, all teams interested in a starting pitcher right now. The asking prices are just so high, through the roof. You're gonna have to give up something if you want to win now. So, Greg, Skubal's your guy. I know that possibly you would say yes to that deal.
I probably would do it.
I think I would pull the trigger if it means you now have a solidified 1, 2, 3 going into the playoffs and your best chance at a World Series.
Does it bother you? Do you care at all? I mean, this is like way down the road that he is a Scott Boras guy.
I mean, that's always a worry, but you have to deal with him at some point. I know the Dodgers do a good job of staying away from Boras clients, but at some point you have to deal with guys like that, and they kind of understand how he works. But I think this year and these next 3 years are very important to getting to the World Series and winning the World Series because of the timeline for these guys. Yeah. For the fact that Mookie Betts is on the other side of 30, that so is Freddie Freeman. Ohtani's getting there. All these guys that you have, this whole core that you have is right in their prime. So you need to go get those guys now. Now is these next 3 years, including this year, I feel like are the most important years for the Dodgers, because you want to get as many as you can early on and hope that, it goes further. But right now is when you have the stars, the studs, the really big names that are in your 1 through 5. That's may not be the case 3 years down the line.
True. So clearly pitching is something that we could get into all episode, and that's like the main draw that the Dodgers are looking for. That's everything that they're connected to. But they did make a small move for a super utility guy who we've known pretty well. Amed Rosario, he's back with the Dodgers. Just be able to bolster the depth, like you said earlier in this episode, Greg. I mean, are you excited for this move? I know that he's hitting over 300 this year. He's having a decent year at the bat, and he's always a solid fielder. So how much does this help the Dodgers just kind of limp their way through till Mookie and them are back?
Yeah, I like the Amed Rosario move just because it's depth again, like we were saying, and it will help. It's not going to help defensively. He is not a great defender. He's not a great defender in any position, but he plays every position. He can play. He can play short, second, third, outfield.
Right,
You can move him around, so that's a good thing. But at the same time, his bat has been good, and it's not just been good against lefties or righties. It's been good against both. I believe he's over 300 against both lefties and righties. So you can then that way you can be even more super utility. So if you're wanting to be like Gavin Lux can't hit lefties, so if he could play second base when a lefty's up there, or if it's somebody that can't hit righties, you put him there for there. He has that to him, and I like the fact that he has a 330 on base percentage. That to me is more important than the above 300 batting average. So the fact that he's getting on base, which is so important for this team, especially because you got to get back up to the top of the lineup to allow Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman when he's back. And everybody else to have those opportunities to drive in some runs.
Yeah, no, that's sort of where I am on this too. Like, I think, this team is, I think we at some point have to understand this is not going to be a great defensive team, but hopefully they can be a good enough defensive team. And if they score runs, if they hit the ball and score runs the way they can, it sort of covers that up a little bit. So, Rosario does offer the thing we want at the bottom of the lineup. You want somebody who can generate offense, who, as you mentioned, can get on base and sort of keep the line moving a little bit. So I think that's sort of the benefit there. I mean, look, the Dodgers are collecting utility guys like Pokemon cards right now, right? I mean, it's between, Rosario and Ahmed, and, when you have Kike and Chris Taylor and all these guys. Edmund. They're just really trying to, look, Andrew Friedman's just trying to just paper over and just patch together a lineup as best he can and hold this thing together until you get your stars back. So, I think that's sort of the goal with this Rosario thing. It's like, let's just keep the ship afloat. And then when Freddie's back, when Mookie is back, then we can kind of get back to where we want to be.
Yeah. So we're pretty much expected to not see another position player during this deadline, all starting pitching. Would you say that's most likely correct? Yeah. Outside of, let's say, Skubal isn't a possibility. Let's say that
probably not. It probably isn't. That's like hopes that's not going to happen.
I think Crochet and Flaherty are probably the two most realistic. I'd say in order of realism, Flaherty's probably 1. Crochet is probably number 2 in terms of what the Dodgers are more likely to pull off.
Agreed.
So let's say, just hypothetically, that those two, they don't want to move to the Dodgers. Or let's just say that the Dodgers aren't really finding the right move for those. Maybe the price is too high because they're the 2 most prized names at the moment. There are some other names in play. I'll just throw out some names, see if you're interested. The Yankees, Nestor Cortez. I know Yankees, Dodgers, that would be insane to see some of the top 2 teams trade, but we've already seen the Phillies do it. How would we feel about that one? Yeah. How do we feel about maybe a Nestor coming over?
I mean, Is that something that you saw was actually even a possibility? I can't imagine that they would trade a starting pitcher.
There are trade rumors,
but rumors
with Cortez. Yes.
Yeah.
Which is sort of wild because the Yankees are also apparently in the Flaherty sweepstakes as well. So it's sort of weird that they would move a starting pitcher to get a starting pitcher.
Right.
But I don't know. It's weird.
I feel like it would be like the Orioles and Phillies move if they did do that, or it'd be like, you need an outfielder, we need a reliever. Let's just swap.
Right.
And that's what they did. This seems like, what would we be giving back for Nestor Cortez that they need? I think that's where it would come into play, because I can't imagine they want any of our position players right now. We're fighting to get position players right now. And it's probably not relief pitching. I mean, it could be relief pitching, but
the Dodgers don't really have a lot of great relievers to offer at the moment either.
I feel good, a little bit better about the relief pitchers than maybe others. I just think they will be better down the line. So maybe it could be something like that, but I wouldn't want to move like a Trinan or a Hudson or something like that. So I don't know. I mean, let's say wanted Phillips, and I don't think they would ever move off of him either. That just seems like a very odd trade to me that I don't see happening.
Yeah.
It would be. It's just unique that his name's even out there on the rumor mill, especially with like the year they're having, and starting pitching's been decent for them.
Right.
But
isn't that something you would then worry about? Be like, okay, what are you seeing about Nestor Cortez that we're not seeing?
That makes you
we're just going to put him out there because we think he sucks. Is that the only way I would see it?
Right. Marcus, the Rays have been sellers. We already, of course, got Rosario, and they've just been kind of full sell.
Do they have any pieces left to sell?
So starting pitcher Zach, is it Littell? I believe it's Littell. There's rumors about him potentially on the block as well. There's just another solid one who could be like an innings eater. I don't know if maybe you have any thoughts on that one. That could be another name. There's some Angels names, but of course we're just not going to mention those because Greg, we know they're not going to be trading with the Dodgers.
Just not going to do it. I just don't like. We can talk about it. I just don't think they're going to do it.
I mean, Tyler Anderson, of course, is on the block. They actually are selling more than we honestly thought that they would. Reed Detmer is somebody who is not living up to the hype, but another reclamation project who might be good for the future. And then you got some guys from the Rockies, interdivisional trades. You're not really going to see all that much. But I mean, there's a lot of names out there outside of Flaherty and Crochet. So I don't know if anything that's going to happen that's like just like, whoa, from out of nowhere, left field. Or if those two are really just like all or nothing.
So I could see them just getting a pitcher to be an innings eater, to be somebody that does not do anything for the postseason, but comes up just so we have extra guys to throw out there to just get through the regular season. I feel like that's kind of what Knack, Wroblewski, and Ryan are right now. I don't see them actually being on the postseason roster. Maybe if one of them really shows out, like River Ryan has looked great in his 2 starts, except for not being able to find the plate and walking too many guys. But that can be fixed. If you get through that, then I think it'll be okay. But otherwise, I think if they get a starter that's not Flaherty, Skubal, or Crochet, then these are just guys to help them get through the regular season.
Yeah. Marcus. I mean, look, I think Chris Bassett might still be out there potentially in Toronto. I'm just kind of going through some names that are out there. I mean, Anderson, but we sort of know how that's going to go. Yeah, I'm trying to think, because all the other top name guys are either have been moved or are in talks. So I think at this point, the options are fairly limited as to where the Dodgers can go.
Yeah. Well, look, we still have plenty of time. I know as a Dodger fan and them doing nothing last year besides Lance Lynn and Ryan Yarbrough, we just sit there and go, oh my God, they're not going to do anything. But there's still 5 hours till the trade deadline, a little bit over 5 hours till the trade deadline. And also those tends to kind of come through. Some of them come through later. So it's still possible they do something. I still believe they're going to do something. I don't think Andrew Friedman is going to sit on his hands and do absolutely nothing. I'm sure he's trying to get something done. He understands how important this is in the Ohtani window. So I really, really, truly believe they're going to do something, and they're going to do something significant. I'll be disappointed if they don't, though, Marcus. If they don't do anything, I'll be massively
and everybody else. No, I think the fan base will be crushed if nothing happens. So I think something's going to happen. Wouldn't mind Crochet. I just being realistic, I think it's going to be Flaherty.
Boom. Yeah. All right, we'll leave it with that. So going into this matchup versus the Padres tonight at 6:40, Glasnow's on the mound. This Dodgers squad could be looking a lot different, or maybe not a lot different, but pretty different with a new name. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. We'll be reacting to it tomorrow at 9:30 to 9:55, of course, as always. And I just want to thank everyone who was in the chat interacting. We appreciate you. We'll be getting to some questions tomorrow about the new look Dodgers if there are any moves. So stay tuned and come on through. stay here for Travis and Sliwa. We'll be back tomorrow, as I said. Thank you to LAX. Thank you to Marcus Grant, Greg Bergman, and I don't know where to point, and Parker Bell is myself. So we'll see you mañana. And thank you. Let's see if I can find this. There it is.
Bum, bum.